Hi, how we doing? I'm Simone. Welcome. There's a live chat on this YouTube. On the YouTube link, if you've got it up on your screen and you can use it, feel free to chat to me through that. Otherwise, my phone number, it's in the description for this link. It was also on Messenger. You can't really read what's written up in that corner. But if you wanted to send me a text message from now right through, feel free to do that as well. Curious to know how many we're expecting and who you are out there, what you're about. So yeah, just let me know what's going on. Names are good. Makes it a little bit more personal. I'm Simone. So my mobile number, if you didn't get my mobile, was 0409 688 279. Feel free to use that. I'll let you know again in a bit what it is. I'll just wait for some more people. Joseph didn't actually tell me how many we're expecting tonight. I forgot to ask him that one. So let's just see what happens, and we'll give it another 5 minutes or so and then we can get started. If you're having any issues with sound or anything like that, just restart the link. Sometimes that can happen if you're going through Wi-Fi. So just restart the link and it'll all be sorted, which should be. And yeah, like I said, feel free to let me know who you are out there. I'll tell you a bit about myself before we start as well. Hi Claire, I see you're Josh's partner. Okay, so I've heard about this Josh guy. You're excited for tonight, awesome. So do you do some of the work with Joseph, or do you do something similar with another group, or what do you do? Who else is out there? I should tell you that there is a 30-second delay. So what I'm saying to you now, you won't hear until 30 seconds after I've said it. So there is a little bit of delay when you send me a message as well, by the time I answer you. So don't freak out if I'm not answering you. He's okay, I guess. Oh, you're lazy, are you? So you just come in to check it all out. Oh, so we're going to be doing some core strengthening stuff, which at the end of the day is basically like Pilates. So hi, Anthea. You're looking forward to it as well. That's good to hear. I'm glad. Yeah, me too. Well, I don't know how long we're going to go for. I do try to stick them to about an hour, but I always end up talking too long. But yeah, what we're going to do is a little bit of sort of Pilates core strengthening type stuff. That's my background. I'm Pilates and I do rehabilitation and things like that as well. So yeah, the exercises are all low impact and they can all be adapted. So if you find that something's not working for you the way that I'm going to show you today, just let me know and I can tell you different ways to do it as well. Hi, Kelly. You love Pilates, Anthea, so you've done it before. So good for you. So good for you. I've been doing it for about 12 years now. I'll give you my history when everyone's on. It's easier. Awesome. That's Kelly, yes. Awesome, Kelly. Got to try. I might write everyone's names down so that I remember. Hey. So we've got Claire. And we've got Anthea. Oops. And we got Kelly. It's a good start. So like I said, you can shoot me a text message because I am aware there's more than 3 of you out there. It's up on my screen telling me that. So you can shoot me a text message if you like. You ready for my phone number? It is 0409 688 279. It is also in the description for this, so if you're interested in doing anything with me later, you can always contact me about that, my website or whatever, we can have a chat as well. So when we're finished and everything, I'll leave this open for 5 minutes or so, have a chat with people if you've got any other questions and things that don't come up during the session. If I disappear, it's because Josh, yeah, not my 2-year-old, your 2-year-old, okay. Alyssa, you're having technical difficulties. Try restarting your link. Just restart it. It helps if you click on the spot to type. Someone forgot to send you the link, Lynette. We call you Lynette or Lynn. There we go. Alyssa. Try, it looks like I'm yelling at you because it's all in capitals. Try restarting the link. There we go. And we've got Heather and Karen. You're all good now, awesome. So we've got Lynn or Lynette? Lynette? Karen, Heather? How are we? Oh, ladies. That's all right. Get used to that. Lynette. Oh, well. You'll have to have words with him. You'll have to have words with him. So it is Lynette. No problem. No problem. Where are we at? We've just hit 6 o'clock. We've got 8 up on my screen. I've got 6 there. Yep, got it. Okay. No texts. That's all good. So it doesn't really matter what you're using, whether you've got me up on your big TV screen or whether you're on a laptop, iPad, or even on your phone. This will work either way. This is how I run all my classes that I've been forced onto. Well, I was coming online anyway, but I've been forced completely onto online due to this COVID stuff. But it's all working really well. This is the way we do it. It's super simple and no one needs to download any apps. So it works really well, except for the fact that I can't see you. So you can see me, I can't hear you. But like I said, you've got, you know, you guys can chat to me here. As I said at the beginning, there is a 30-second delay. So everything I'm saying now, you guys will hear 30 seconds after I've said it. So sometimes if you ask a question or something, I may either just miss it or I may just miss it or I lost my train of thought. Sorry, because a message came through on my phone. But I will get back to you, okay? So sometimes it just takes a little while. Now we've got loads of messages already coming up on here. There's just a little bit of a delay. But that's okay. We get there. We've got time. So I'm going to just explain to you who I am, okay? I'm a Pilates instructor. I do work with a lot of rehabilitation people. So I have clients that will have things like Parkinson's, scoliosis, through to slip discs and disc bulges, that sort of thing, hernias and all sorts of things that people coming back from injury. But I also have some really fit, healthy people as well. So, and my age group ranges from sort of late teens, early 20s, right through, I think the oldest person I've got is in their mid to late 80s. So I've got a wide range. I have gone from running about 19 classes a week out in community centres. Now I run 9 online classes. Obviously we can't get into the community centres anymore, but this works really well. So yeah, if you've got any questions about anything later, feel free to give me a chat or to have a chat with me. I I've been doing Pilates now for about 12 years. So I do have quite an extensive knowledge about how the body works and the best ways that you can make sure your body is working for you, so that you want it to work efficiently and effectively so that you can recover from anything you're doing. So other than Claire, I'm assuming all of you are into all the lifting and the strength training that Joseph does. But if you're not, that's okay. Joseph, that doesn't even make sense. You're just whinging with each other. Okay, so yeah, we're not going to use weights today. We're going to use our body and gravity as our resistance. But what I'm really going to focus on is about core and stability, and making sure that whatever you're doing, whether it's your exercise routine or whether it's just everyday life, that you're doing it properly, moving properly to prevent any injury and that happening. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off this chat for a second, so I won't be able to see it, but I will come back to it. Okay, just so that I can see what I'm doing here. Here we go. No, we're not working. All right. I'm new to PowerPoint, so I'm just giving it a go. I don't usually use PowerPoint, but my other computer decided to stop working. From the beginning, let's go. All right, so this is working really well. Okay, we're up. Okay, so what I'm going to like I said to you, we're going to talk about core stability. Okay, let's get back on track. Firstly, before we begin, maybe some of you know, some of you don't know. I'm just going to go through the basics of what your core muscles are to start with. I think that sort of helps you sort of be able to visualize and feel what your body's doing, because it is super important that you're aware of how your body is moving and what you can and can't do whenever you're doing something. Okay, no pain, no gain. I don't know if that's one of Joseph's sayings, but it's rubbish. There's a difference between pain and your muscles aching because they're working hard. Okay, so pain is a bad pain. It's things like burning and tingling and numbness and sharp pains, those sorts of things, stabbing pains. If you ever get things like that, you know you're doing something wrong. Okay, so let's have a look here. So these are the biggest parts of your core muscles. So you can see that we've got our ab muscles, okay? So everyone assumes that they're part of the core. They are. You have your six pack at the front, whether you have one or not. You have your obliques, which run down the sides through the waistline area. But then behind all of that, you have what's called your transverse abdominals, which are you may have heard them called your corset muscles. So basically they wrap around through the waist, from around the back, round through the waist, and in behind those obliques and six packs. Okay, we also have our back muscles. So if you have a look at the far right, you can see that there's a few muscles through the back that run right along the spine there, and they travel right up into the neck, and you can even see that they come out into the shoulders. You can also see that there's one big muscle there that'll travel in underneath the arm. Okay, and so that's really important for all your arm movements that you do as well. So you can see how they link there, and how sometimes when you do something and you're using your lower back, you might, or the center of your back, you might start to feel it into the neck, because it's all connected. The last picture down in the middle is the glutes. So that's another really super important part about your core. You can see it runs up into the lower back, but it also runs down into the hips there as well. Okay, and the tops of the legs. So that whole area, and you guys, if you're doing lifting and things like that and strength training, would be using that a lot. Okay, so that's 3 sets of muscles that are really, really important. The other one, there we go. The other one are your pelvic floor muscles. So some of you might be aware of what they are, some of you might not be. It depends on your age and where you're at in life and what you've been through. If you've had children, I'm sure you understand Well, you've heard of them. Maybe you don't understand. Let's have a look quickly at those pelvic floor muscles. Okay, so what you can see in this picture, right down the bottom in the center, the yellow part, comes into a point there in the middle. Now that's the tailbone. So you can even right now just run your hand down your spine all the way down and keep going, and you can feel right down to the tailbone. Around the front there in the center, that little bit of bone there is your pubic bone. So you can actually feel around at the front, and you can feel that as well. And the pubic bone then you can see connects into those hips off to the sides like big ears there. Now all of those muscles that you can see in that group there, they're all pelvic floor muscles, okay? They loosen and tighten quite a bit for different reasons, for whatever you might need them, whether it's giving birth, going to the toilet, or, you know, things like when you get older and incontinence and all that sort of stuff can be affected by those muscles. So I'm just going to show you the last one so you can actually clearly see where they are. And you'll probably get a good giggle out of this one. Everyone else does. That's okay, we're allowed to. All right, so the blue and the red line, the big arrow pointing to them at the bottom there. You can see the grey dot at the front is the pubic bone, it's labelled. Then you have your spine coming right down into your backside there. So you can see how low down your tailbone actually goes. The blue line and the red line that joins that pubic bone and your tailbone together is that pelvic floor we just looked at. So it's super important to keep that strong. That's supporting your pelvis area. It's supporting all the organs and everything that's down in that area, but it's also keeping everything connected when you switch on core. And supports all those, did I say supports all those organs in there as well? So that's, oops, I forgot to come back to me first. I've got so much working here. Different cameras and things like that as well. So anyway, so you can see that if you don't use those muscles and if they do start to get weaker, and if you have had any issues in that region down here where in the tummy area, like for example, after giving birth, we've got all ladies here, so you know nothing about this, Joseph, but some of the ladies might. I don't know what their background is, but yep. I'm just coming back to see if there's any messages from anyone. No, nothing serious. Cool. Yeah, so those muscles are the ones that will stretch, and they're the ones that tighten back up again if you work them properly. Okay, so it is really important that you have them strengthened because, like I said, as you could see, they were attached to the hips. Okay, so you can actually feel around where they would be attached. Right in through the hips, I'll come up onto my knees a little bit. In through the hips, you've got your pubic bone at the front and the tailbone down through the back. So that whole area is protected by them. So that's pretty much your core. You can see your core runs right from here all the way down, okay? So it's not just this tiny little area, and that's why it's so important. Now with your core muscles, they're meant to work together, okay? So if you've ever had back issues, that's generally because other muscles aren't working. It's a bit like if you imagine going to work and you're meant to be working in a team and someone's just not doing their job and everyone else has to pick up whatever they're not doing. So, you know, you've got to help out, you've got to do more because one person's decided not to help. It's the same with your body. If one group of muscles aren't working properly, all the other ones have to work harder to support it. So generally what happens through life is, and it's different for everyone, but you might end up with a weaker pelvic floor, which means the butt and the back, as you saw in the picture, were connected. The abs, they've all got to work a little harder. Generally, the back goes first. That's the one we start working on harder. If you get sore lower back, you might find that maybe the butt muscles aren't working as hard as they probably should be. Or it could be that your tummy muscles aren't working as hard as they should be anymore. So I'm sure that at least one or two of you might have some idea of what I'm on about. Hi Renee, welcome. You've seen all of it, Joseph, but you've never experienced it. Seeing childbirth. Well, it can give you an idea anyway of, you know, what's going on with those muscles down in that region. But there are other reasons. Not everyone's had a baby and not everyone has experienced it because of that. Okay, we are going to find those muscles. We are going to feel them working. Okay, I want you to feel the difference between them switched off and switched on. They're the terms that I usually use, switch it on or engage it. So just so that you know what I'm saying when I start talking about things. Okay, before I go further, are there any questions at this stage? You don't want to? Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm going to have a drink. I'll just give you a moment to shoot me a text message or a message on the online. I don't know what you were on about, Joseph. You got a nice healthy number turn up. They're not all lazy. Yeah, no to that one, Alyssa. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to explain to you there's two really important things that you need to do every time you go to do any strength training exercise, or when you go to even just to get up in the morning and do your normal day routine, okay, whatever it might be. So the first really important thing is awareness. You've got to be aware of those muscles that we've just spoken about, okay? You've got to be aware of where they are, what they're doing. And it doesn't mean you need to think about it all the time, but if you know that they're there when you do go to move, you'll use them properly, okay? So we're going to start with awareness. Let's make ourselves aware. So if you're sitting in a chair, that's fine. You can stay on a chair unless you're sitting on a couch. Then you got to get up and you can come down on the floor with me, okay? And I'll just move my mat underneath me for a bit of comfort. Yeah, well, I should have known that Joseph would be the big kid here today. Joseph, make sure you're sitting down as well. You can do this too. Let's learn what our pelvic floor is and where it is, okay? Well, I've explained to you what it is. Let's find it properly. Okay, so I want you to sit. Now, if you're sitting in a chair, that's fine. You're gonna have your feet flat on the floor. I want you to make sure that your legs are straight out in front of you. So if you find where your hip bones are, there's an imaginary line that runs down the center of your legs, okay? If you're sitting on the floor, I want you to sit like I am, your knees bent. I've got my knees pointed to the ceiling. So none of this, Joseph, none of this, ladies, okay? Straight lines straight up to the ceiling. Yes, Alyssa, so you do need to be super careful, okay? Your doctor knowing exactly where it, well, you should know where it affects when you do certain movements, so you do need to be aware of that. So if you get pain, nerve pain in a certain spot when you do a certain movement, obviously you're going to have to avoid that. What we're doing is we're trying to lengthen the spine by strengthening the core muscles. So remember your back and your tummy as well as the pelvic floor, because all of that's going to hold you a lot stronger. So if you do get nerve pain, because it comes out from, it extends from the spine, then you're going to want to learn a lot of these exercises because they will help strengthen those muscles to take the pressure off wherever there might be any damage on those nerves, okay? But of course, through what we do today, if anything doesn't feel right, please stop, okay? Waist down. So you get like numbness or lose the sense of feeling in your feet and things like that. I've got a few people that are like that, can't feel through their feet, so that throws off your balance. Now, a lot of your balance does come through your feet, your knees, and your hips. So when we're learning to switch those core muscles on, we're going to learn a lot of balance that way. So we're going to sort of take that balance from being in the feet area and just really focus it through the center. So it can help, okay, in getting your balance fixed if you have any issues with that, because you're going to improve posture, and like I just said, that core, that central area as well, okay? But again, if anything doesn't feel right, please stop. Okay, so even now, Alyssa, if you find that sitting down here is a little bit uncomfortable, and if you don't have a chair close to hand, you can always grab a cushion. Yep, no, that makes sense. I'm just gonna, so you can also grab a cushion, okay? And you can sit on a cushion. Now, if you don't have any back or hip or issues like Alyssa is saying, then you're not gonna do this, okay? You're gonna have your butt on the floor, all right? But by sitting here, it just takes a little bit of pressure because you've changed the angle of your hips slightly, okay? Down here, it's a lot tighter. It does feel different, okay? So a simple cushion or a pillow, run and grab one off your bed, or sitting on a chair. Oh, and you're pregnant, Lynette. Well, congratulations to start with. Yeah. Oh, well, look, I've actually got a pregnant lady with me at the moment in one of my classes, and I've had a few in the past, and myself as well. I mean, I've had 3 children, so, and done this. This is brilliant for you even now. How far along are you, Lynette? So I've got an idea. And have you had any issues or anything coming up to the point where you're at now? Because we can do lots of things for that. There are always adaptations, modifications, I should say, to everything that we do. And because of my wide range of clients that I have, I'm able to adapt quite easily to things like this. So we've got your nerve issues, we've got pregnancy, if you've got back issues or shoulder issues, knees, that sort of things, there's a lot that we can do. So yeah, so for you, Lynette, sorry, I've got a Lynette in another class, but she's a Lynn. Sorry. Lynette, if you do feel uncomfortable down here, obviously, if you've got a bit of belly happening already, you can try taking your feet wider, and I would recommend sitting on the cushion, okay? The other option is to go and sit on a chair, a solid chair as well. 22, okay, yeah. All right, so Lynette, if you can't get a chair, grab a cushion and stick it under your butt, then just take your legs wide if you're down here on the floor, okay? So yeah, if you've already got back issues, and then, because the pelvis is changing as well, changes shape when you're pregnant, and so that affects the back as well. So what we're doing is trying to find the pelvic floor, and that's gonna help everyone, and any issues that you've got, okay, it's super, super important to have those muscles switched on. And it doesn't matter whether you're male, because I've had people ask, do men have pelvic floors? Yes, they do. You saw that in the diagram before, okay. What we're going to do, and I'm going to get you to make a triangle with your hands to start with, okay. So there's the triangle, thumbs together, fingertips together. Now, the ball of your hand, I want you to just sit it on your hip bones, okay? So wiggle it around, find those hip bones. They're in there still, Lynette. Okay, then you're gonna bring those thumbs towards each other. Now, they're probably not gonna reach now, okay? And then you're gonna bring your fingertips towards each other. And what you're gonna find is your fingertips are probably sitting roughly on the pubic bone area, okay? Obviously, Lynette, it's going to be a little bit different for you because you've got a different shape going on through there. 22 weeks, I don't know, is it your first or your second or your third? We tend to be a little bigger when we've had a couple already. Anyway, we're going to have our hands there. Now, basically, halfway between my wrist and the tip of my longest finger, about halfway there, so it's sort of halfway along that hip area, that's where I want you to get those fingers in. So I know it's a little bit hard to find. You might even want to lie down and find it. Make your triangle, okay? Stand up if you're using a chair. That's your other option. Stand up and make your triangle. Then about halfway down your hand, that's where we can do it on one side and then guesstimate on the other side, okay? That's where your hands are going to sit. So I want balls of your fingers. Use a few fingers as well, not just one, okay? And stick them in there. And then sit up. So you're either sitting on a chair or you're sitting down here on the floor. Your hands haven't moved, their fingertips are still touching that area. Oh, it's your first, so yeah, you'll still be little then. Oh, well, that's all right. You can find your hips and your pubic bone still. All right, I want you to sit as tall as you can, and what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called C-curves or a pelvic tilt. So all you're doing is pushing your belly button into your spine, and as you do that, you can see that I'm sort of rolling over my bum bones, okay? As I do that, this little area in here tightens where my fingers are. And then sit up. Now, if you're not sure, if you haven't felt it yet, let's try it again. So sit up tall, fingertips sitting in there. I want you to breathe out. And as you lean back, you're pushing through the center of the body and you can feel it tighten. And then sit up. If you can't feel it tighten, you can always, I'm going to lose my head for a second, but you can always try and sort of, my hip bones are there, okay? You can sort of try and dig around in behind the hip bones a little bit. Some people find it a little bit easier that way, so depends on you, but it is in that area, okay? So fingertips are digging in through here, okay? And you're either sitting in a chair or you're sitting on the floor, and you're going to pull the belly button towards the spine. You're going to breathe out and you're going to just tuck and then sit up. And then you're going to tuck. And I just want you to do that a few times until you start to feel that tightening. Okay, so take your focus, your mind, down to what you're doing there. I'm just going to show you standing up so that you can, oh, hang on a second. It's usually that camera. Sorry. So you get your hands in here. There's that triangle. There's the point halfway, right? One hand, the other hand, okay? And all you're doing is this. So you can do it standing. It's easier sitting down. So whether you're sitting in a chair or sitting on the floor. As soon as you start that pelvic tilt like that, you can feel it tighten in there. Is there anyone that's not feeling that, not finding that? How did you go with that, Lynette? You're okay up there? Those muscles that you can feel switching on, that's your core muscles, okay? You can feel pelvic floor and those deep core muscles switch. And even the those corset ones, the transverse abdominals. Anyone not find that? I'll give you a moment. So the people that are sitting in the chair, you've got a lot less pressure in your hips and your back, and that's why I suggested the chair, even for Lynette before, with back issues and pregnancy. You've got already a lot of pressure going on through that hip and the lower back area. Well, yeah, you're moving around and you probably did squish him a little bit. You have a big belly, Karen. That's okay. They're still in there. You found it, Renee? Awesome. Okay, so Karen, try it in a different position. And we're going to try it again when we're lying down. So don't worry, don't stress if you can't find it. If you're on the floor before, now go and try sitting on a chair or something solid, or even doing what I just did, standing up. See if you can feel it in a different spot. Remember, you've got to have those hands pushing right in. You might need to really sort of dig as well. Some people have to push quite hard to feel it. You've got Alyssa, awesome. How are you going, Anthea? I haven't heard from you for a little while. Heather? Your glutes activated. That's super common for the glutes to activate because you're tucking, your bum tightens, okay? That's practice, so don't worry too much if you do activate the glutes, okay? The more you practice it and the more you start to feel those muscles working, the more you'll be able to separate the butt and the rest of the core, okay? So that's just a practice thing. Exactly, and that's why, because like Alyssa just said, it's all connected. They are all connected. You saw that in the pictures earlier. They are all connected, so they will want to work together, but it takes a lot of practice to be able to separate. So a lot of exercises to activate the glutes does help. If you are getting really tight in the butt, then it might be time to start practicing to learn not to activate it. But generally, especially for people that have lower back issues or quite severe back issues, I do actually get them to activate their butt just that little bit more, purely because it can protect the lower back just that little bit extra. Okay, so it's not going to be a bad thing to do that, okay, but it's practice to learn not to. You felt it a little standing up, Karen? Good. So it just depends on what position you're in. Now, like I said, we're going to lie down in a minute, and it's even easier to find things lying down. So let's do that. Let's roll down onto our back, because I want you to start to activate more muscles. You know, you may have heard about, let me turn the other way, I think. You may have heard about, and it would be good if everyone could come down onto the floor. Lynette, just let me know if you feel a little dizzy, maybe pop a pillow under your head lying down here if you've got any issues. Sometimes when we're pregnant, oh, let's change it to the correct camera, shall we? Sometimes when we've got a few, when we're pregnant or you have issues like that, oh, yeah. Sometimes when you're pregnant, it's not an issue. I was thinking of your back. You can feel a little dizzy lying down here on the floor. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so what we're going to do is I want you to make that triangle again on your hands. So you might find that just lying down, gravity helps. You can find those hip bones a little easier, the pubic bone as well. Okay, bend your knees up. Okay, as soon as you bend your knees up, you've taken a lot of pressure out of your back and your hips. Okay, so let's do that. And I want you to take a deep breath in through the nose. Then I want you to breathe out through the mouth. Feel your belly button just sinking into the floor. Doesn't mean it's going to touch the floor, but it's going to sink, okay? Don't suck it down. That's why we're breathing out when we do it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little pelvic tilt here. Squeeze your bum a little, because that will help, and then release it. So if you've got a mirror or a reflection or something, or even if there's someone else in the room with you that's able to assist you at all and let you know where you're at, you can see when I do it, my fingertips lift because the pubic bone is lifting when I do this. That's the motion we want to be getting right now. That's the pelvic tilt motion we were trying to get sitting up, but it's a lot different down here. All right, so you're pulling the belly button down, squeezing the bottom just a little. So yes, activate those glutes now. Deep breath out. See if you can breathe out as you do it, as you do that tilt movement, because it does help. Breathe out. Now, if you want, dig those fingers in, see if you can feel where those muscles were again. Like I said, you might have to move up or down following the line of the pelvis there, the hips. Okay, so if I dig my fingers right in, pull the belly button to the floor, instantly feel it as soon as I start the tilt. As soon as I start the tilt. Now you may even be able to feel the pelvic floor lifting, and that's that sensation. It's a gentle sensation up through the center of the body. Probably the best way to describe it is like if you are going to the toilet, if you're urinating and you stop it mid-flow, that's the same sensation. So that's your pelvic floor muscles that do that, okay? So that sort of sensation, I like to think of it, I usually tell people it's like when you're in the shower and you're trying not to wee in the shower and you've got to hold on. You lift the pelvic floor and those muscles tighten. Okay, so let's just do a couple more pelvic tilts, see if we can feel it. If you can't, just go a little further. Make sure the belly button sinks down. So breathe out and release. Just do a couple more of those. Let me know how you go with that one. Yeah, cool. Yep, no, that's awesome, Heather. Always good to double check and make sure you're working properly. Yep. Hands in a triangle is a great way to actually visually see what's going on, especially if you've got a mirror or something that you can use to see what you're doing. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of breathing here. When we tilt, breathing in, look, Okay, we're going to do the breathing. We're going to do it again, okay? So I wanted to bring in one thing at a time because otherwise people start going, there's too much to think about. Let's make that triangle again, okay? I want you to take a deep breath in now. Now, when you breathe in, you feel your rib cage sort of push out, expand along the floor. So do that, breathe in. Now, when you breathe out through your mouth. And I'm sure you've been told that before, to breathe out through your mouth so that you can empty the lungs completely. It allows those muscles to get more oxygen, the ones that you're using. So when you're doing your exercises, it allows those muscles to get a little bit more oxygen through them, to empty the lungs completely so that you can completely refill them. But it also helps you to engage the core. So if I breathe in, now you're going to feel what's going on around your belly button, okay? So you can even pop your hands over your belly button. Take a deep breath in through the nose, feel the rib cage expand along the floor. Then when you breathe out, your belly button is just going to sink into the floor. Breathe in again through the nose and breathe out through the mouth. Belly button sinks. So it doesn't matter how you feel you might sound to other people because you're probably in the room by yourself. So it doesn't matter. You can sound like a train or whatever. Nice long deep breaths is going to help you find those core muscles. So as the belly button sinks down into the floor, let's find that triangle again. As you breathe out and the belly button sinks into the floor, I'm going to get you to squeeze that bottom and do your pelvic tilt. So it's actually a breathe out. And you're going to lift your hips right up as high as you can. I want you to activate those glutes for this one because you are using your lower back and your butt to lift. I don't want you pushing that belly button back to the ceiling. Okay, now this should be okay for you, Lynette, to do. All right, it's probably a really good one for you to do to keep the core strong throughout your pregnancy, okay? So everyone, have that triangle, take a deep breath in, breathe out. There's that pelvic tilt from before. Now squeeze that bottom a little bit more. Keep breathing out as you lift. Hold it, take another breath in. Now I want you to breathe out and see if you can reverse that. So as I come down, I'm trying to get my spine down on the floor one at a time. Now you might find you get a bit flat at the bottom, but that comes down to the glutes. Squeeze the bum. We're trying to keep that pelvic tilt. Remember, pubic bone was lifted. The bottom of the fingers, the bottom of my triangle is lifted, and roll it down. Going to do a few of those. Now these are called bridges. You may recognize them. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out through the mouth. Breathe in and lift. Breathe out, roll down. Now, if you're breathing the other way, there's no big drama about it. It doesn't really matter, but breathing the way I'm telling you to, in at the bottom, in at the top, and out as you move, is just going to make it easier for you to make sure that you're activating properly, okay? So again, now we move our hands and see if we can find those core muscles. Feel them tightening as we breathe out. Feel them tightening as we lift. You may start to feel them switch on and off, okay? Especially if you've got any issues through the back, pregnant. There might be a few reasons why you're sort of switching on and off, but as you come down, you get to about here, you can feel it switch on again, okay? Because what you're doing is lifting the pelvic floor because you're trying to get that pelvic tilt, okay? Does that make sense? I hope so. Make sure you ask me to say something again. I'll try and say it a different way. If you're not understanding, please let me know, okay? So dig those fingers in now. Deep breath out as you roll up. Breathe in and hold at the top. Breathe out, roll it back down. I'm going to get you to do one more like that. It starts in the glute, Alyssa, and you are working through your lower back as well. So it's not just the glutes working. You are working through the lower back. You're also working all the way through your spine. So all of those muscles that ran up your spine as well, they're working too, okay? You feel it more in your quads than your glutes. Okay, so generally, if we roll up We've got to make sure, firstly, that we are pushing up through the knees and down into the feet. But if you, and it really depends on what's going on through your body, if you are a big one for using this muscle here, it is a huge muscle, okay? That muscle right there is a nice big muscle and it loves to do the work for you. So it means that when you come up, you're pushing from here. Activating the glutes might be a case of just practicing, squeezing and hold and down. One of the best things, it's just a case of learning to squeeze and activate your bum, okay? You can try it with a cushion between your knees. That cushion that's off to the side, okay? Rolling up. Now I've got to hold that cushion there, which means I am going to work a little harder here. However, you will be using those inner thighs too. Okay, but see if that helps you switch on your butt a little bit more by having a cushion or small ball or something between your knees. That might help. Again, comes down to practice, focus, doing it slowly. Okay, once you learn to let the belly button just gently sink and not suck it down, then that pelvic tilt and a lot of these C-curve movements is good practice to get it started here. Okay. Didn't miss anything. Herniated disc lying on the floor at the moment is uncomfortable, but not always. Okay, so you can do a bridge sitting in a chair, Kelly. So if you're sitting on a solid chair with your feet flat on the floor, you can do that C-curve we did before because that's what you're doing to lift your butt off the floor. And then the rest of the spine is really about just rolling down. So if you imagine I'm sitting in a chair, I don't have a chair in here, but if you do a pelvic tilt and a lift, and then you just hang over your legs and then sit up tall, that's what I do for a bridge for people that can't do it down on the floor, okay? Because the bridge is working the pelvis and rolling through the spine, okay? The lift that you're getting is switching on the pelvic floor. You can do that sitting in a chair. You don't have to be on the floor to feel that. As you noticed before, even standing up, you can feel it, okay? Did I miss anything? So as far as breathing, Alyssa, we're just breathing. Make sure that you're breathing, preferably breathing out on the way out, on the way up and on the way down. So as you're moving, and it just helps you to activate better. So if you think about breathing in general, when we breathe in through the nose, generally, and there's different things. Like if you've done yoga before, there's different types of yoga that breathe differently as well. No problem, Kelly, as long as it makes sense. But yeah, so breathing in comes up this way, but not out, okay? It comes up the spine. Breathing out, if you pop your hands on your tummy and just breathe out, it's quite natural for the belly button to sink back as you breathe out because you're emptying everything. And then you breathe in and then you breathe out. Okay, so breathing is really important to help you switch on the right muscles, to help you draw that belly button down. Yep, that's fine. And you felt it? Awesome. Yep. That's a lot of it's practice, Heather, is for the breathing, for the movement. If it's not something you've done a lot of, and you don't, like, you know, if you go to a physio, they'll actually can sit there with you and make sure you're doing it properly. Obviously, we can't do that. I have to give you props and ideas as much as I can. But yeah, throwing a pillow, or she used a dog toy, that works as well. Whatever you can hold on to just changes the area that you're activating. All right, awesome. Okay, so that was number one of the two important things. The second one was strengthening. So that was how you can find the pelvic floor, how you can find switching on the core muscles. So the belly button drawing back. You don't ever, when someone says draw the belly button back, you don't ever want to suck it back because then you can't breathe, okay? So that's just way too much. When you were lying on your back, and you breathe in through the nose, and then I told you to breathe out through the mouth and let the belly button sink into the floor, that's where you want to hold it. That's basically what's considered about 20%. They consider that about holding it about 20%. If you were to suck down a little bit harder, you might get to about 50% trying to push your belly button right into the floor. But can you breathe properly? You'll probably find you start to get tight in the chest and the shoulders and then in the neck because you're doing this, trying to hold your tummy down. So it's always, when you activate, it's always roughly 20-30% unless told otherwise, okay? Because you need to be able to breathe. So through any of the exercises that you do, and I'm not just talking just what you might be doing with Joseph, but even just day to day, getting out of bed, getting up and down in a chair, getting in and out of a car, going for a walk around the block, going to the supermarket, picking up a child, all of those things you're using your body for, and you need to have those core muscles working when you do it, okay? So strengthening those muscles. So now that you've got a rough idea on how to find them, and like I said before, it's practice, let's talk about strengthening them. So we're going to stand up, and I'm going to go through hinging with you because that's a great way to feel how the core should be working, okay? So we're going to stand up, and everyone can do this one. This camera is usually camera 2, so I press number 2 on my little box, and it's not today, it's camera 4 today. Okay, so hinging. When we hinge, best way to do it is with slightly bent knees. Now we're going to bend them to make it just that little bit easier, okay? I have my feet roughly hip distance apart. So there's my hip bones, imaginary line down the center of the body, okay? Now, we think about what we were talking about earlier, the pelvic tilt. I don't want you to overdo it on this one. So, I can't remember who said it now, about the glutes activating too much. I don't want you to do that. I want you to think instead, so belly button, hands over the belly button, take a deep breath in, deep breath out, belly button gently draws back. Now see if you can hold that there. Your knees are bent. Hinging comes from the hips. So you stick your butt out, but don't collapse. All right? Can take a bit of practice. Again, if you've got a mirror or a TV or even a window or something you can use as reflection right now, it'll help you to see exactly what you're doing, or practice it later with that reflection or whatever. Okay, so hinging comes from here. Now, if you're doing lifting and if you have to pick things up, okay, if you've got a child or you've got a heavy box or you've got shopping bags you've got to pick up, what do they always tell you? To bend your knees, yeah? If you're doing strength training and things like that, you're taught to do that sort of stuff. Bend your knees, okay? Bend your knees. When you bend your knees, you stick your butt out behind you and you lean forward over your knees. And then you come up. That's a hinge. Not everyone hinges properly. A lot of people will do this and think they're hinged because they overdo that core connection that we talked about before. So just breathe out first. Find yourself, right? Hands, breathe in, breathe out, it sinks back, hold it there. Now come forward without losing that. If you've got your hands on your tummy, you can feel whether it changes or not. Okay, so my butt's sticking out behind me. I'm leaned forward and then I'm going to come up. When you come up, now you can activate your bum and just give it a little squeeze. Don't push it forward, just give it a little squeeze. Okay? One of the best ways that you can learn hinging is to use a pole. So it could be a broom or a mop handle, something like that. It's super easy to find around the house, hopefully. You have 3 points of contact. The first one is your lower back, roughly around your tailbone area, okay? The second one is right here in the center of your back between your shoulder blades. And the third one is the back of your head. Now, if you've got something close to hand, go for it, grab it. But if you don't, you can try it again later. But if you have something that is sitting and touching those 3 points of contact the whole time you lean forward, okay, the whole time you lean forward, then you know that you're hinging correctly. Because if you start to bend here, you've tucked your bum under, you may lose contact here, you'll probably lose contact here because your middle of your back starts to push outwards. So you can see that I've rounded. My whole body shape has rounded now, okay? So hinging is about keeping your back nice and flat. That means stability through the center. We are using our abs to hold that belly button in position. We are using the pelvic floor to hold on from the bottom. We are using our lower back to help us, especially when we come up. We're using our butt and our legs to push up, okay? So everything here needs to be stable. You can almost imagine that you're between two panes of glass, okay, that come up to here, so that when you come forward, you've got to stay between those two panes of glass. If you do this, then you're going to push on it, you're going to bend it, okay, but we've got to keep it nice and flat. All right, so again, we'll do it a few more hinges. I want you to take a deep breath in. When you breathe out, I want you to, let's just keep the knees bent, but when you breathe out, I want you to try and keep everything stable in the center. You can do what I'm doing here, hand over the belly button, hand over the lower back, just sort of helps remind you. But if you've got a pole, use a pole, 3 points of contact. Should be touching the pole the whole time you do that. Let me just check, see if there's any questions. Yeah, you can feel that in your hammies as well. And if you've got tight lower back, the hamstrings are usually quite tight as well. So, or if your lower back's weak, your hamstrings can be quite tight. So just that bending, you might feel even more. You can try bending your knees a little bit less and see if that helps. Don't hinge over as far. That will also help. Yes, similar idea, Lynette. Similar idea as with the squat with a barbell. Of course you can, Lynette, yes. Widen the legs, yes. Yep, so taking the legs wide is not going to be bad, but what you do have to be careful of is it's harder to bend your knees when your feet are quite far apart without the knees wanting to drop in. So you can do that. I mean, coming forward, we're not coming right over. I don't need you in a 90-degree, you know, right over into a table position, okay? Really, let's just focus on getting a small movement where we hinge and then stand up. And even if we keep the legs still, we just hinge and stand up. Hinge and stand up. So this movement is important for picking things up, okay? Whatever you're picking up. If it is something big, you might have to take your legs out wider and bend and pick up. But you should always be bending with a flat back and then pulling it in, okay? Even if you were to pick up something golfer style where you take one leg back, your back is flat. You're not collapsing over to do it. You keep your back flat. It's called stability in the center, which is what a lot of this is about, this workshop is about. See, we're going to go over an hour because it's nearly an hour already. Stability through the center is what we want. Lower back strong, tummy strong. That doesn't mean you have to have a six-pack. It just means you need to have those transverse abs, those corset ones, switched on and working, and pelvic floor. They all work together. So when the back's not working so well, we do tend to do this because we'll use other parts of our back. That's majority of people have the issues in their back through the lower back because those muscles by the time they get down there are a lot slimmer and skinnier than they are when they're at the top of the spine, okay? They thin out. There's also not as much blood circulation in that area as well. So if you've been, and especially at this time when we're locked in our houses, you might not be moving as much, okay? So the lower back will start to get sore and achy because there's not enough circulation in it, okay? So some of these exercises, that bridge before, will be brilliant to keep that blood flowing through there. Hinging, important to think about, okay? Anyone not got the hinge? Yeah, your six-pack's got a lot of insulation. You're not alone there, Renee. All right, so that's a great way to strengthen. Here's for your hamstrings. Great hamstring stretch is, and we'll do that now because yeah, you're in this bend position. You can feel it working on both sides of the legs. That's standing up and bending. And even before, what we did with those bridges can get into the hamstrings as well, because you squeeze that butt and you tighten through here. Like someone said earlier, everything's connected. Okay, so if I take a foot forward and the other one back now, if I just show you this way first, you can see my legs are in line with those hips. I'm not crossed over, okay, straight forward. Okay, now if you're a little bit unsure about your balance, so there are a couple of you out there that might have some issues with balance, find a wall or something you can pop your hand against, okay? Because we're gonna come forward and I'm actually gonna get you to hinge. So connect, remember, deep breath out, feel it draw back. Till you get the hang of it, slow down and do it slowly. And we're gonna hinge forward. I'm keeping both legs straight this time because we wanna get into those hamstrings. As you come forward. Now it's actually in the front leg, up the back there, okay? Now you might get this far and you can already feel it enough. You may have to go further. You may have to go further, okay? And then once you get to this sort of stage, you can relax your upper body down. Both knees are straight. You can feel it in the front leg, the back of the front leg, right where that hamstring is. But that is a great hamstring stretch if you are tight in that area. Okay, and then you can do the same thing on the other side if you need to, other leg. Just make sure you keep both your knees straight as you do that. Yeah, so it's really, really easy to lose that connection when you're not used to doing it regularly. Practice your bridges every day. Well, I say to people all the time, you know, if we're coming up to a holiday or there's no classes, if there's one exercise you can do every single day, it's those bridges. If you have issues with your back or you have issues switching on your glutes or you want to practice your breathing and your activating of those core muscles, do bridges, okay? They'll help with the spine. Get up in the morning, do 5 to 10 bridges. Go and have your breakfast, shower, whatever else. Go through the day. You've been outside gardening, okay? Or you've been sitting around not doing much and you're starting to feel a bit achy. Go and do another 5 to 10 bridges. It reminds your body, switch on again. And once you're switched on again, you can go off and do what you've got to do. Same thing before you go to bed at night. Do some of those bridges. Get that blood flowing through the lower back so that when you're in bed at night, you can sleep a little better, especially if you have back issues and it is through the lower back. It'll help you sleep a little bit better, okay? That is the one exercise I recommend for everyone, is a bridge. If you can't do it lying on the floor, as I said before, you can do it sitting in a chair, okay? So that was where you did your little pelvic tilt, and then you do a roll down and hang over your legs. Then you sit up nice and tall again in a chair. So you can imagine I'm in a chair right now. Actually, you know what? You know what I've got? I've got a table just here. I am still here. Look, if I use this as my chair, okay? There you go. It's not quite the right size. I need to have my knees up here. But if it was a dining chair, pelvic tilt, sit up, roll down. It's all the same motion as a bridge. Activate the core, get the blood circulating in the lower back, work through the rest of the back, stretching it out, and then lifting again, okay? So that's what I'm trying to say to do. There you go. So that's a bridge sitting in a chair for those that can't get down on the floor to do one. Okay, so I'm going to get you to we're going to do a few exercises. So we're actually going to start down on the floor. So again, if you're not going to be on the floor to do the seated exercises, grab a chair, okay? Sit on the chair, because we're going to do some of those C curves and then we're going to make them a little deeper so that you can feel your tummy working. So if you are sitting in a chair, I want you to sit towards the front of the chair so that you've got a distance between you and the back of the chair, okay? Everyone has their feet flat on the floor. Knees pointed to the ceiling down here. Up on the chair, you should be, like I said just before, right angles. 90-degree angle from the hip, 90-degree angle from the knee. So that means your knees are over your ankles. Okay, in a chair, let your arms hang. Sitting up, just hold on gently. All right, now remember, this is where we're thinking now, okay? We're gonna do some little C curves. Little C curves. So really all I'm worried about moving right now is my pelvis, just like when you're trying to learn to dance or do Zumba. You're gonna move that pelvis. Tight back, tight hips means your movement is very small. If you're a little bit more flexible there, you'll be able to get a decent tilt. So I'm able to tilt right now, okay? But if you were a bit stiff, you might only be doing this, okay? Belly button back, breathe out. Breathe in and sit up. Breathe out, tuck it back. Breathe in, sit up. Breathe out, tuck it back. Feel around if you want to. Let's do one more like that, and I'm going to make it a little harder because we're going to lean back a little further. Okay, so if you're sitting in the chair, which hopefully, Lynette, you found yourself a chair. With circulation issues doing more than 5 to 10, yes, it will help with stiffness in the morning, Kelly. As far as doing 5 to 10, I think you do what you feel comfortable with, because if you do more than 10, you might find that the lower back starts to get a cold ache through it, or you might start to get shooting pains through it, and that's when you need to stop. That means that those muscles aren't activated anymore. So whether you're sitting here or standing up, okay, 5 to 10 of these or 5 to 10 of the bridges, same thing. If you feel like you can do more, go for it. But it's really just a focus on activating and switching on, okay? So circulation issues, you've got to feel it through your body. If you're feeling pain or it just feels really uncomfortable, make sure that you stop. And yes, Kelly, definitely will help with stiffness. Stiffness is so common, and it is because of that lack of circulation through the night. You're lying still, you're not moving it around. Did I miss anything else? Yep, nope, that's it. Okay, so we're gonna do this little pelvic tilt now, but I'm gonna get you to lean back a little further. So try not to grip hold of your legs. Focus here, push the belly button back, tuck your bum under, okay? So if you've got to activate your glutes, that's fine. You're gonna lean back just a little bit more. It's probably a little bit more activation in the butt now because you are trying to keep it tucked under. Remember that tailbone? Tuck it under, okay? So we're leaning back. You can do the same thing in a chair. However, no cheating. You're not allowed to rest on the chair, okay? Now, you're not going to feel the tummy muscles start to burn, but you are going to feel them activate. Now, Lynette, what you need to be careful of is making sure that that tummy doesn't start to peak, okay? If you're getting a triangular shape in your tummy, don't go back any further, okay? So you're going to tuck, you're going to lean back, and that goes for anyone, okay? Because if you don't have strong tummy muscles, or you haven't learnt to activate them, just make sure that they're pulling in towards each other. So if you can imagine, my hands are those tummy muscles we saw in the picture earlier. When I pull the belly button back, I pull them this way. When I do my pelvic tilt, I pull them this way, okay? If you're not and you're pushing them that way, so think about pregnancy, they do start to spread, okay? They can start to form a triangular shape on your tummy. Okay, and that's not good in the long term, okay? So we do want to pull in as much as we can. So keep it small if you have to. Lean back slightly. It's all coming from here and the pelvis, and then sit up. And again, so what you can feel is that the tummy muscles are switching on a little bit. They are getting tighter. Pop your hands. One underneath the rib cage, one down over the belly button. Tuck and lean. Can you feel them get a bit tighter? Do you have to push around? Maybe you have to push around, that's okay. Feel them switch on a little bit. Let's do one more of those because I do have a little workout that I want to do with you before we finish. Okay, I'm going to get you to go all the way to the floor. So Lynette, you're sitting up in a chair. You're going to do your bridges sitting in a chair like I explained before. Yes, so Renee, try it in a chair. If you don't have one right now, that's fine. Yeah, completely. Again, everything's joined. See, this is what happens when you get questions, like things extend. There is so much involved in all of this. When your lower back is a little bit weaker, your butt tends to be a little bit weaker, or you overactivate it, but that then helps to support the back a little bit. And you might find though that the hamstrings get a little bit tighter. When you're weak on one side, you're going to be stronger on another side. Like I said right at the beginning, when one person in your team is not working hard, the rest of you have to pick up the pieces and work harder. So when your lower back's not working very hard, your butt, your hamstrings, and your hip flexors and your quads will work harder. Okay, it's generally not the tummy. So what we're going through is, okay, we need to make sure that tummy muscles are working, so they're pulling in, okay? The butt muscles are working when they're meant to work, and the pelvic floor is engaged, so we are strong in the center, because the minute you lift that pelvic floor, you do feel a lot more stable through the center, okay? And then your lower back doesn't, it can work to how far it needs to work, okay? But yeah, hip flexors getting tight, you can stretch them out quite easily. They will get tight if you're not stronger at the front, or if you're a bit weak at the back. Who's Megan? Anthea, you're overthinking it. That's all that is. I used to have a lady, and you'd watch her do Pilates, and she looked like it was just so easy for her. But whenever she used to roll down and hang upside down, her tummy muscles would cramp. It's just a case of overthinking, pulling the belly button back, okay? Practice, that's all that is. I did describe you, there you go. Good, means I know what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're gonna go down, let's do 3 bridges. So you're either sitting in a chair or you're gonna lie on your back and do 3 bridges. So coming down, hands down by your side. Remember, I want you to take your time with everything. So you switch on first. Breathe in, breathe out, let the belly button sink. Now pelvic tilt, slowly come up. You are squeezing the bottom, and if you're not sure if you are, you can always pop a cushion or something between your knees. And then you're going to breathe out as you roll back down. Breathe in again, gentle, long, gentle breaths in. And deep breath out, pelvic tilt, squeeze your bottom and lift your hips. Now roll it down. So how do you go with that one then, Renee? When you're lifting that butt up nice and high, you've got to open up those hips. So you might feel that. Was it you that said it earlier about you feeling it in your quads? I'd have to scroll through and try and find it now. But if you feel it in the front of your legs, it'll probably be because of the hip flexors being tight. Okay, when you finish that last one, you guys that are down on the floor, just want you to bring your knees into your chest, and I don't care how many rocks it takes you, you're gonna rock and roll till you sit up, okay? I want you to see if you can balance. That's finding the center of balance. You guys up on the chair, that's okay. You stay sitting where you are. Okay, coming down. Bridges were fine for you. Yep. No, well, see, there you go. So you're already learning, all right, well, this is the wrong thing that's happening. I'll do this and it'll fix that issue. Yep, and once your body gets used to it, muscle memory, once your muscles get used to how they're meant to be working, then you won't need to have your dog toy between your knees, because your muscles will know where they should be. It might be a case as well of strengthening up those inner thighs a little bit. Okay. You're starting to ache across your hips, and that's because you're using these muscles. And if you're not used to using them, and especially now being pregnant and that as well, there's a lot going on. We've not been able to get out as much and do as much as we usually do. So a big change in routine changes how we're feeling. new exercises, new muscles that perhaps you thought you were using before, but you weren't using properly before. You're now using them. So that can cause a little bit of aching. As long as it's just aching, we're all good. If you start to get something that feels like it's actual pain, okay, then you need to make sure you stop. And for you, Lynette, because you're pregnant, and anyone else, you know, when you've got back issues and things like that, it might be a case of doing less repetitions as well, okay? So I know that sometimes 5 doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be enough. I have sometimes we do in class, we'll do 5 of a certain exercise, but it might be 3 or 4, and then that one more that you do to make it 5 because you think, well, it's only one more, but that can be the one that breaks the camel's back, as they say. Bridges are fine. Oh, it was Heather. When you're sitting and you have to lean backwards, you feel the pain in your hip flexors. Yep. And because when you're sitting here, okay, imagine those hip flexors, they're sitting there at the front of your body, and you can even feel them, okay? And that can go for everyone. Have a feel around. You can feel them in there, right? And when you lean back, if you are tightening through here more than here, you'll get really, really tight through the hips, okay? Sitting in a chair changes the angle of that. Sitting on a cushion changes the angle in the hips. Sitting on a large fit ball or a gym ball, whatever you want to call it, can change the angle, and that's 90 degrees is a lot more comfortable than 45 degrees. So now the hip flexors are tighter. Now they've opened up, okay? So that's all that is, leaning back and feeling them tighten, okay, is because your legs and everything else are trying to help your tummy, because you're not quite strong enough through the core yet, or your back's not quite strong enough to support you in this position. Make your movements smaller, don't do as many repetitions, okay? We're going to stand. Yep, rely on your leg muscles. It's quite common because they're bigger muscles. It's either here or it's in your butt. And for a lot of people with their back, it's the upper back muscles. Because they're bigger muscles, they're wider or they're longer, you tend to use them more because they have more power in them. That's why when you do a squat, for example, you use your legs and your butt to stand, because that's the harder movement, is coming back up. Okay, so you use your legs, you use your butt to push. When you're using weights, you know, you see people when they got really heavy weights and their whole body does this movement. I'm just talking about, you know, like hand weights or something, but they'll use their whole body, and that's using those upper back muscles because they're a bigger muscle. They want to help out too. It's practice again, okay? All right, let's stand up. Press the right button this time. We're going to do 3 of our hinges, and then I'm actually going to get you to come into a plank. Now I've got different planks for different people, so don't worry, and you don't have to hold it for 5 minutes or a couple of hours or whatever Joseph might make you do. Let me step back a little bit. Okay, so we're going to stand here at the end of our mat or whatever you're using, your space. You're going to bend your knees. I'm going to actually get you to take your arms up by your ears, okay? I want you to try and keep them up there because I want you to keep your chest open. That keeps your lungs open. Then you're going to come forward into that hinge. Now you don't have to go far. As soon as you feel your arms drop, you start to round on your back, okay? So if your arms start to drop here, this is as far as you go. If you can go a little further with your arms by your ears, then you go a little further. Remember, you're sticking your butt out. Remember that stability through the center. The belly button is gently back. I can still breathe. I can still talk to you. I could laugh and sing if I wanted to, but don't worry, I won't. Okay, come back up again. Stand up tall this time. As you stand, I want you to squeeze your bum. Squeeze it together, especially if you've got activation issues there. Okay, coming down, connected in the center. Remember, the butt sticks out, the knees bend. And come up. Squeeze the bum. And once more, coming forward. Remember, you're only going forward as far as you can go without those arms dropping. And stand up. Now, you might have only got one of them right. You may have got all 3 of them right. That's okay. From here, I'm going to get you to roll down. arch your back. So Lynette, take those legs a little wider. When you get to the bottom, I want you to bend your knees so you can reach the floor, okay? Really, if you've got hamstrings that are tight, bend your knees. From here, we're going to walk forward. Lynette, you're going to start to bend your knees a little bit more till they hit the floor like I'm doing. The rest of you, keep your butt nice and high and walk yourself out. Now, when we do a plank, I don't know, Joseph, do you get them doing planks? Are you there? If you get them doing planks, I'm going to come back to this one. I'm going to show you how to do planks. I'm going to go through it now. I'm starting here in one of the easier planks. Easier as far as someone who's super good at planks might come to. Okay, it doesn't mean it's easy for you. It's easier on your back. It means your back has a little bit more support. Let's start here. Draw the shoulders back and think of your posture, okay? Now, whenever you do a plank, you are looking straight down at the floor with a strong neck. That means you are not letting your head hang. The minute you do that, you get heavy in the shoulders. Your arms are straight, but not locked up, because otherwise your shoulders and neck get tight, because yes, everything's connected. Then from here, I'm going to tuck my bum under. Squeeze it if you have to. And for this one, you can overdo the pelvic tilt. Squeeze your bum, push that pubic bone forward. Don't push it forward this way, push it forward in the pelvis. Okay, if you want to make this one a little harder, you would come down onto your elbows. Elbows is a harder plank. Squeeze, tuck. Now, the longer we hold it, the more we stop breathing, the less we breathe. Try to keep breathing deeply the whole time. I don't care if you hold a plank for 5 seconds, okay? As long as you hold it properly, as long as there's no pressure in your back. So Lynette, you choose whether you can be up on your wrists or right down on your elbows, but you can lift your hips slightly higher if you feel it in your back. Anyone else with back issues out there? Lift your hips a little if you can still feel it with your knees on the floor. For those that want to go harder, you then come up onto your feet. This is not a plank. Have you been told that before? You should not feel a plank only in your upper body, whether you are here or, this is the hardest plank of all, here. You should feel it in your upper body, but not only in your upper body. If you feel it in your lower back, it's too hard, or you've dropped your butt too low, okay? So you can try taking it up or knees to the floor, all right? So 2 main things about a plank is that you shouldn't only feel it in your upper body, you should be able to feel it in your tummy, and you shouldn't feel it in your lower back at all, okay? You do not have to hold a plank for 5 minutes for it to be worth anything, because it depends on you. Start with 5 seconds. Next time, try and do 7 seconds or 10 seconds. Build it up, okay? I have some people that are absolutely amazing at all the exercises I give them, but a plank, a minute is enough, okay? So work within your limitations. Okay, now you've done a plank, I'm going to get you to stretch out into child's pose, nice long arms. I'm going to give you a moment to ask me any other questions, and then we're going to go through a stability workout, and at the end I'm actually going to let it flick through, so if you want to write it down or even screenshot it with your phone, or if you want me to send out a copy, you can shoot me your email. You held one, Joseph, for 10 seconds, is it? Is that what you're saying? Your plank was 10 seconds? So muscle shaking is muscles working. Make sure you keep breathing deeply. As those muscles start to really work, sometimes they'll start to shake. That's just them tightening up, they get tense. Okay, so muscle shake is nothing to really worry about, even for people that have that sort of issue permanently, because it's issue that they have. You just hold it as long as you can. If you find that it starts to get too much on the shake, you can make it slightly easier. Take your knees down to the floor, stop, have a 5-second, 10-second rest, try it again. It's just the muscles working. Yep, there you go, Alyssa. Yep, we said the same thing. Yes, I did ask if they do planks. That's right. And what did you say? They do them for, what did you say, 10 seconds to a minute. Yeah, I don't believe that, you know, you hear all these people that do it for, you know, an hour or whatever. You can do it for an hour, but it's really just to get some kind of record for something. It's not a fitness thing. There are so many exercises to help strengthen the center of your body, your core, your lower back, the stability. And there you go. See, if your instructor's shaken after 20 seconds, I have my moments, it's different. It's different day by day. But yeah, it's nothing to worry about. 30 seconds your threshold? Yeah. There you go. So it really doesn't matter. There's a lot of different, you know, I have some people that'll want to keep going. They'll get to 2 minutes. If I see someone that can get to 2 minutes and want to just keep on going, then I'd change their plank and make it harder. I might take them down onto their elbows, or I might start adding leg lifts into it, or knee taps and things like that to make it harder, so the 2 minutes becomes a limit for them. Okay, so that's really, you know, because otherwise you're just sitting there, you know, it's boring. Yeah, so it could be a position. It could be that you have your hips a little bit low, but if you're not feeling it in your back, you might find your hips are too high. That's a really common one. If you're feeling it in your shoulders, up here, okay, butt up really high, it's all upper body, all of it. If you don't have a strong upper body, okay, you might just be a case of strengthening your upper back, or even through the chest and that. The shoulders just might need a little bit of strengthening as well. Okay, so that's another thing. If you're feeling it really quickly in the upper body, you can try strengthening it a little bit more, but firstly, just check and make sure that butt's not too high, because that position is more in the shoulders than bringing the butt down. It sort of centralizes where you're feeling it, okay? You'll fluctuate, yep. All right, shall we do this little mini class that I've got here for you? We're talking about control and stability. Once we get this done, I can shoot you all the other stuff and we can have a chat a bit further if you like. Yeah, because, you know, it's Saturday night. We don't need to be here all night. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to be on all fours. Now, everything I'm doing can be done in a different position, okay? So I'll think about you, Lynette, and I will yell out some things for you. Back issues, I will make sure that there are, because I think there's a couple of you, any back issues or the nerve issues and things like that. Like I said, with the nerves, it's a case of if you feel pain, stop immediately. Don't keep going, okay? But back issues and pregnancy, I will yell out for. Okay, and give you different ways you can do it. So if we all are down on the floor right now, we're going to come onto all fours. So come down onto all fours. Now when you're on all fours, we want to have a little gap between the knees and the wrists underneath the shoulders. The knees, by the way, should be directly under the hips. Now, you might not be sure where that is, and that's where, again, a mirror or a reflection is a big help, okay? I've got a big TV right in front of me. I can see me on the big screen, okay? So if you don't have anything like that, well, your hands are right here. You can see them. Have a quick look at your knees. Just make sure that they're not too close. You'll work it out when you can't balance. Okay, we're going to do what's called a pointer to start with. Now, remember I said about that stability through your back and through the center of your body, the core. Belly button is gently back, gently, right? Just like when you're stopping yourself from weeing, we stop. We don't want to be sagged. We don't want to overdo it. Okay, that's sucking back so that it can hardly breathe. Relax. All right, Pointer, the opposite arm and leg. Opposite arm and leg, it's a lot easier than both, the same. Slide them out along the floor. Now I'm not stretching, okay? Just lengthen. I'm still lifted. Now we're going to start to take it off the floor. The higher you go and the faster you move, the harder it's going to be. Now, you don't go any higher than arm by the ear and leg in line with the hip or your back. Obviously, you can't really see yourself when you're in this position unless you can turn your head and look at a mirror or something. Okay, but then we come down. So let's do the other arm and leg. Slide and start to lift. If that's your limit, that's where you stop. You do not have to go higher. If you start to topple forward, can you see why? Because the leg's lifting. It's gone too high. If you twist in the hips, can you see that? If I do it with the other leg, you might see it better. There you go. I've twisted the hips. The hips need to face the floor, not the wall behind me. That'll also cause you to lose your balance. Okay, so let's try this. Opposite arm and leg slide, and you start to lift. Everything here is controlled. That's where your stability comes from. And you come back down. Change sides. Slide it out. Try sliding it back in as well. See, my foot comes to the floor and I slide in. Slide it out. Slide it in. Now, it doesn't feel like a lot for an exercise, but it's a great starter for making sure you're balanced. Hang on, my computer's making... Bad wrist mobility, that's super common too. Hang on, let me read the ones before you. Bird dogs is another name for them. I call them pointer. I don't quite get the bird dog thing. That's more a yoga thing. Hey, your wrists. Okay, we lose a lot of flexibility in our wrists as we get older. It does start to happen. You can come onto fists. There's no issue with that. As long as, and this is what I'm against, tucking those thumbs down into the floor. If you are pushing your thumbs down in the floor, think of how tiny that little joint is there. Those tiny little bones, and you're putting all your weight down into them. Make fists, but no thumbs. That's fine. See, now my wrist is straight and strong. The other option is if you've got hand weights, you can hold on to hand weights. Sometimes that helps as well. Some people can't make a fist too well, so holding on to hand weights will help. So that's a couple of different options there for your wrists, but it is really important to try and keep them flexible. You can try wrist wraps if they work for you, yep, but I would use them when you have to do an exercise, but in between, I'd work on strengthening the wrists. Don't ever rely on something to do it for you all the time. Well, there you go. Well, you won't need them for too long, Heather. So come up here onto fists if you need to. Okay, there is another way of doing this, but it's not going to get the same with your stability and your balance, okay? So, as you can do this lying on your tummy. Opposite arm and leg, hold on to a weight, hold on to a couple of bottles of wine, hold on to, make fists like I'm doing right now. But we're going to finish that one now anyway. Don't forget, you just did a plank as well, so. Okay, so give those wrists a little shake. We are going to do one more in that position, and it's working through that butt. So butt issues, want to strengthen the butt and make sure you're using it. This is a great one. So make your fists if you need to. Come onto all fours again. I want you to keep your upper body nice and still. So watch what I do. I keep my shoulders back and my posture strong, and I take that leg out to the side. Now, if I go all gymnast on me, I lift it too high, I start to twist, and you can actually see that when I do it, that other leg moves. At the same time, you see what happened to this shoulder. It's crept up, and I can actually feel that tighten right in there. So, small and out to the side. And we're going to do 10 on each leg, okay? Are you ready? This is called a hydrant, and I'll let you work out why, okay? This is a great one, though, when you're pregnant, because your belly can just hang down in front of you. All right, shoulders back, little lift. 1 and 2, knee to the floor each time. 4, 5, 6. Are we still stable in the center? Let's change legs. Belly button gently back because we're going to check it again before we go again. And off we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now that's all we're going to do today. Now if you feel that you can't feel anything going on in your butt or whatever and you want it, you can do it longer, do more, do a couple of sets of it, whatever. I just want to show you what you're actually going to feel is not so much this leg, the one that's moving, you're actually going to feel it on the other side because you've then gone and put a lot of weight and, well, you're relying on that side of your body to keep you up, okay? You are also going to feel it in the upper body. This is a way of strengthening the shoulders and upper back. So, sorry, I keep forgetting who says what. But upper back, shoulder issues, great one for strengthening the upper body. Both of those exercises we just did, okay? It's a great one, that, yeah, hydrant, fire hydrant. Stupid hips, keep it small. Do less. You can, with some people that have hip issues, I will actually do 5 really small ones and then 5 on this side. Then we might move to do another exercise, maybe this one, and then go back to it, 5 on each side. Split it up, make it work for you, okay? All right, so if you weren't controlled and stable in the center, you were going to lose your balance. Let's go. Are we going to do some push-ups? Let's just try a couple, hey? I feel like I can hear you going, yeah, nah, it's Saturday night and it's 7:30. We're not doing push-ups. Let's just try for 5, okay? You don't have to do them up on your feet either. I don't know what Joseph says about that one. We have discussed that in the past though. I'm going to do it here because I would rather do it properly and get all the way down than do tiny little ones in a full plank and risk hurting my wrists or my back. Wrists, slow, slow. A Pilates push-up is slow, it's not fast. Because what I want you to do is think about here. I want you to put a pane of glass along your back and a pane of glass along your tummy and imagine that there so that when you come down, okay, if I'm starting in this position, I stay in this position all the way down and all the way back up. That's not a push-up. Might work on your upper body, but it's doing nothing for your core. Doing them super fast will do a lot for your upper body, but nothing for your core. And that's what we're focusing on tonight, core. Go on, see if you can do a few. If your wrists are getting too much, give it a rest and you can do it tomorrow. Because tomorrow is Sunday. It's so much better. I've got my little list here so I know what I'm doing. All right. Now, before we did what I call pointer on all fours, we're going to do a swimmer, which is lying on your tummy. Now, there's so many different variations to this. Swimmer really is arms and legs and everything moving, but we can break it down and simplify it so much. You can also do this one standing up. So, for those that may not feel comfortable lying on their tummy, you can stand up. For those that are going to be down on their tummy, let's go through that one first. So I'm going to give you loads of different options now. I want you to try them and see which one you like best. We're strengthening our back. Let's start at the bottom. Easier option for your back. Tuck your chin to your chest. Draw your belly button back. We're going to try and breathe out. Now, it's a lot harder to stay connected in this position. Gravity's trying to pull your belly button down. Think about your pelvic tilt. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. There's a little bit of tilting there, okay? Right, we're going to lift the chest off the floor. The chest and the legs are going to lengthen till they come off the floor and down. If you've done yoga before, then you're going to want to go a lot higher than I am. But we're not focused on overextending the spine. We're focusing on strengthening those muscles and keeping everything stable. So chest off the floor, legs off the floor. Small movement. Now let's make it harder. Take your arms above your head. Now try it. Hands further away from your body mean that your arms are going to feel heavier. Shoulders and upper back are going to work harder. Okay? I might actually just leave you with those two options. Choose which one you like best, and I want you to do maybe between 5 and 10 of them. Standing people. I keep forgetting which camera. Sorry. What we do, okay, and it is again about that stability here. Now I've got a wall here for balance if I need it. I'm going to take one arm up above the head, and it's basically the same movement, okay? Belly button gently back. I'm going to push my leg back. It's still straight and I'm pushing from here. And at the same time, I'm going to take that arm back and in, back and in. What you can feel is the hamstring work. I'm keeping my body upright, so I'm not leaning forward, okay? And it's all about staying strong and controlled in the middle. The arm pushes back from the shoulder. So you don't have the gravity to work against as you would if you were lying on your tummy, but obviously if you're not comfortable lying on your tummy, it's not going to work for you. You may want to do, say, 10 on each side as opposed to 5 down on the floor, okay, to feel much the same thing. While we're doing this, arm and leg moving back, make sure the arm moves as well. Don't let go. If I let go here, I'm going to push my chest forward, okay? Stay connected. Back and back and back. All right? So that's how you can do it standing. You guys down on the floor, I assume you're all finished. When you've done a few up there standing up, come on back down to the floor. I'm going to bring my cushion over for this one. Let's come back down to this one. Okay, we're going to lie on our side. So if you have a little baby on your belly, you might be more comfortable resting that belly on a cushion. I'm just going to pretend I've got one. If you let your belly rest on the cushion, it just takes a bit of pressure out of not only the skin and the muscles, but the baby doesn't feel as uncomfortable, okay, because it doesn't really move. So there's your option. Lie on your side. Keep a pillow underneath your tummy if you need to. All right, I want you to all, again, we're focused on that stability in the center. Tuck your bum under a little bit and then push that top leg away. We're going to pop a hand on the floor for balance, okay, but you can make it harder if you've got good balance and take your arm up here. This hand should be in line with the bottom of your rib cage. We're going to do a few little single leg lifts, so we're just going to take it up and down. Now again, if you've done yoga or something, you might want to go super high, or if you've been a ballerina or a gymnast in the past, you might want to go super high and show off your flexibility, but we don't need to, because what we're focused on here is balance. Can you take your hand off the floor? Or do you start to wobble around? If you're wobbling around, it just means the pelvic floor is not engaged. So I'm going to say to you, if that's the case, tuck your bum under a little bit more. As you start to move the leg, you might start to release those glute muscles so they're not activated the same. So it makes you lose that connection in the center. All right, let's glue the legs together. Squeeze your bum, squeeze your legs, and see if you can do 2. If this one hurts your back though, I don't want you to do it. What else did I have for here? Oh, nothing. Good. All right, now I'm going to get you to bend your knees forward. Okay, I'm resting my feet on the floor here. They're together. My knees have actually come forward, so my feet are roughly in line with the spine, okay? So pop your hand on your hip, because I want you to feel where your hip is. It needs to stay right there on top, and you're just going to take your knee up. Hip issues, don't go too far. Keep it really small. If that's going to hurt your hip, keep it small. However, I do want you to feel it in here, in your butt. If your bum's tucked under, you're also going to be using the top of your butt and into your lower back. You start to feel a little bit of stuff going on through the butt now? Or is it just because I've done so much of this in the last week? Good. I'm trying to think what I've put on my list for you, but oyster might be one of them, which is when you take the whole leg up. up and down this way. I'm not going too high again because I really just want to focus on what I'm using here. It's a little bit like that hydrant movement, but lying down on your side. So I guess if it really starts to bother you with doing the all fours with your wrists, you can always come down and do it this way too. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. We do have to turn over and do the other side just so that we're even. We're not far off now. We've done stuff on our tummy, so we've worked through our back. We've worked through our butts. We're doing that now. We've done stuff through pelvic tilt, the pelvic muscles. All right, now let's keep working on our butt and then we'll do some for the front, okay? So little lift. We want those hips stacked. Now, if you're noticing that there's a difference between sides, that can be completely normal as well, all right? You might carry things more on one side than the other. You might find, or you may even have, you know, if you've got any back issues, you might have one side's tighter than the other. And that can happen just from general day-to-day life, okay? So if you're wobbling around a little bit more, slow it down, make sure you're balancing, and keep it small. Let's do 2 legs, little doubles. Now I want you to keep on going for at least another 5 while I just make sure that there's no more messages on here. Okay, Lynette. So even with these ones, I'm not sure when you wrote that about the extenuated C in your spine. I don't know if you noticed that I've got a little one as well. My butt sticks out a little bit. Okay, focus on tucking that bum under, activating those glute muscles as much as you can, because even in this position, I'm not sure if this is the position you're talking about or this one here even. So again, because I'm on a different angle to you now, my feet are still in line with my spine. This one here can get into that lower back if it starts to ache. All right, just make sure you've got your bum tucked under as much as you can. Overthink that a little bit. So I'm trying to sort of tilt my pelvis forward. Okay, and again, keep your legs small, the leg movement small. Don't go too big. And then just stop whenever you need to. You don't have to keep on going. If I do 10 repetitions, do 5. It doesn't matter. Doing something is activating. Doing nothing is doing nothing. All right, and then we had those little oysters. So that goes for any exercise. If it just starts to feel really uncomfortable, it can be a case of just doing less of them. And yes, having quite a deep arch through that lower back can cause a little bit of back strain there. Just those muscles are so little that come down into the spine there. So we've really got to work on keeping that butt strong. All right. Okay, you can roll onto your back now. Bring your knees into your chest. I'm just going to have a quick look. All right. Going to get you to do that pointer again. We're lying on our back. Now, hopefully at 22 weeks, you're still okay lying on your back there, Lynette. If it doesn't feel okay for you, there are options for sitting up, and I'll just show you them at the end if you like, so you can watch. We're going to take our legs up. So take a breath in. Then I want you to breathe out and let your belly button sink. Okay, hold it, remember. Take one leg up so that your knee is above your hip. Okay, did you feel those tummy muscles switch on when you did that? Now, the hard part. Try and take the other leg up there without moving your back. If you think that your back and your hips are going to hurt, there we go. Mat's under your bum. Okay, as soon as you throw a mat under your bum like this, and Lynette only can use a cushion as well, okay, for this. As soon as you do that, your back pushes into the floor. If you feel like your back is lifting, your mat is too high. That little tuck there, you can see where the fold is sitting under my tailbone. Remember from the pictures at the beginning? The tailbone is at the bottom of the spine. That's what you can do. All right, that's going to help hips and your back. If you don't need it, don't use it. Okay, we're going to take our hands onto our legs. So like I said, we're going to do that pointer again. This is another position you can do it in. Opposite arm and leg. Out, in, out, in, out, in. Now, as you extend out, those muscles there are working harder. So stability, the back is gently lined up with the floor or pushing into the floor. Okay, belly button sinking down into the floor. So to do that, because we want to be able to breathe, we're going to breathe out at the hard part. In, out, in. Feel it in your hips. Could be because it's a new exercise. Could be because you got hips issues going on. Take the leg higher. Takes the pressure out. For those that want to go harder, take the leg lower. The lower you go, the harder you work. But if your back is lifting or getting tight, you've gone too low. Okay, so what we want to feel in this exercise is the tummy engaging, switching on, tightening, however you want to say it, okay? We do not want to feel our back lifting and getting tight. What we will feel is those legs working. And yes, hip flexors might be starting to get a bit tight, in which case, let's stop, have a rest. Do 5, have a rest. Do another 5, have a rest. Shake the legs out, loosen up the hips. Okay, so you can always stop and then go back to it. But the minute you took your legs up there, you should have noticed how everything tightened through the center. Triangle, belly button down when you breathe. One leg, other leg. If your back is tightening up a lot when you take that leg up, maybe you need to have the mat rolled up. Try it. Roll up your mat. Back pushes into the floor. One leg. 2 legs. Completely different. Okay? So if you want to, you can do a few more of those. I did throw another one in called a frog. You can try it if you like. You're going to turn your knees out and heels together. You grab hold of your ankles. Now what I like to tell people is that you need to be lady frogs, because when a frog jumps, they do take their legs out like this. But we're going to be lady frogs, which means we're going to keep our legs together, okay? So this is where you would curl up and you would push out, arms back, okay? Because I'm turned out, that's activating those inner thighs. I'm squeezing my heels together, so it's keeping my pelvic floor lifted, but I'm going to work those tummy muscles and those legs and those hips and the back and everything so much harder. So you can breathe in and breathe out, breathe in and breathe out, breathe in, and like I said before, the lower the legs go, the harder you work. If you don't want to try it, if you think it's too much for today, then you don't have to. I'm just going to show you because I did put it in my list at the end, so you might be going, what was that one? You could probably Google it and find it on YouTube somewhere anyway. Okay, we're going to roll. Actually, we're going to do a couple of bridges again just to loosen up. And because it is late now at night, so we're getting later, we're just going to relax out that back and the spine. Get a little bit of movement going through there to relax you, and then we're going to finish up, all right? So hands by your side, knees are bent. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out, let the belly button sink into the floor. Take another breath in, and this time when you breathe out, you're going to pelvic tilt. Remember to activate the butt and lift. Breathe in at the top. And breathe out, you're still activated through the butt as you come down. So remember, you want to be able to feel the spine rolling off the floor and then rolling back on. You can feel it working through the legs as you lift, the back and the front. You can feel it through the butt. But if you find that it's too much, it might be a case just loosening off a little bit. You don't need to overthink it. And once you finish that one, if you can, I'm going to get you to roll back up. If that's too much for you, for your back, your hips, or the fact that you're pregnant, then you're just going to come up as you feel comfortable. Whew, there we are. I don't know about you, but I need a drink from all that talking. Okay, so I am going to put it up in a minute. Before I put up, actually, I'll put it up while you guys talk to me. How about that? Let me turn, oh, I can use my mouse. All right, so I'm going to put up now all the exercises that we have just done. There is a photo with each one, so you can have a look at it and, oop, come on, mouse doesn't run so well over the carpet. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pop that on. There you go. So there's your plank, okay. Now, if we can put that over there, no. All right, so then if you've got any questions or anything like that, if you want to write that down, you can write that down. I'll give you a moment to write it down. While you do that, I'll see if there's any other questions. If you don't have a pen or something, just take a screenshot of it with your phone or on your computer, just take a screenshot. If you're not sure how to do that, because not everyone knows how to use computers, that's fine. Then just let me know, make sure I get your email address and I'll email it out to you so you've got a copy for yourself, okay? A few little notes with each one as well there for you to make sure you're doing it correctly. All right, I'm going to pop the next one up now. There we go. So you've got your all fours there. So the pointer and hydrant are written onto that one, although the picture is more your pointer. But remember, you can always do it on your fists if you need to as well. You don't have to be on flat hands or hold some weights. And that photo was taken out in Cooper Pedy. Yeah, I became one of those that just goes out to random places and takes photos doing exercises. One of those. Like Joseph, he does that all the time, doesn't he? If you've got any questions as we go along, please pop it in there. All right, I'm going to pop the next one on now. If you miss anything, just let me know at the end. So there you've got your push-ups now. That's one strong man there, that one. He's been with me for years and years and years, him and his wife. I like taking photos when he does things like planks and push-ups and stuff. Yeah, you can see he has a little bit of an arch in his lower back, but that's just a natural arch. One thing you can notice when you're looking at this is something, you know, to pay attention to on yourself. Only with your shirt off. Please. One thing to pay attention to is what your shoulder blades do when you go into push-ups and planks, push-ups in particular. Your upper back should be flat. The muscle, and remembering back to the very beginning when I showed you that picture, the muscle that runs in and underneath into the arm, strengthening that muscle there. Some people don't have it strong at all. Some people, especially like boxers and stuff, when they get older in life and they're not doing their boxing anymore, become quite weak through there. And that can cause you to end up with those wings when your shoulder blades actually become wings. Within 30 minutes of finishing, so you get to the beginning. Lynette, it could be a case of doing it too hard, too much. Perhaps you shouldn't be doing as many repetitions of certain exercises. It could also be the fact that maybe you're not connecting properly, that you're overthinking, drawing the belly button back, that sort of thing, and you're making your muscles super tight. With Pilates, it's meant to be quite gentle. If you overdo it, you tighten all the muscles through your body, whether that's your back or your legs or your butt. So we try to do it as gently and as low as we can. So yoga's a bit different because they do a lot of sort of that overextension, the arching of the body. And we don't really do that in Pilates. So it could be the fact that it was just too much. The exercises were too much for what's going on with your back. And then it could be the instructor that you're with, perhaps wasn't aware of the issue or is unable to help you work around it. That is one thing that I do, as you saw, and a couple of you mentioned about the different options that you get. All of my classes are like that. I always... What happened? We don't have a picture. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Yeah, a lot of all my classes, I give modifications out for everything. So there's always, I can always help people, and I keep them like this where we can chat to each other, because I want people to be able to say, well, this is my back's been hurting today. All right, well, in that case, I'm going to get... And I can yell out, all right, you're going to do it this way. You're going to do that. Just like I've done tonight. This is how I run my classes. So slow it down. Keep it small. Keep your movements small. Keep your repetitions low. And as you strengthen, you'll be able to do more. So that's your swimmer there. So we did full swimmer, which was lifting the whole body. You can separate that by just doing the upper body, then doing the lower body, and then doing it all together, which is what's on there. Now 10, 10 and 10 doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be a lot for a lot of people, especially when you get to that last set of 10. So just do what you can. As I've just said, if you can only do 5 before you start to feel pain, then just do 5 or do 4. Okay, here comes the next one. This one's your side lying. So you've got your single leg lift, your double leg lift, clam, and yes, your oysters on there. Really important that you keep everything stable in the center for that. So it's hips stacked right up on top of each other the whole time. So are the shoulders. You've actually got a few people to look at on this one. So you can see different positions. Perhaps the lady down the back in the black, you can see her hand is quite high up close to her head on the floor, so her shoulders are lifting and rolling forward. Whereas the lady in front of her in the Nike top, she's kind of almost leaning back on herself, but that's because of the way she's tucked her arm underneath of her. Flexibility has meant that she just sort of rocks backwards a little bit. And you can see the lady down the front in the pink who's quite stacked. Everything's stable on top. Yeah, no problem, Lynette. Yeah, if you've got any issues, please contact me. I'm happy to have a chat with you and give you some different ideas on stuff, things to try. All right, here comes the next one. This is your supine pointer. So supine is when you're lying on your spine. That's how I remember it. It rhymes. So you have lying on your back, opposite arm and leg are extending. These guys, you can actually see a couple of them there. They're actually doing it with their head off the floor. So that means that they're working more of their tummy muscles, whereas the guy in the middle there, he kept his head on the floor. So that was the way we did it today. Really important to make sure that that lower back is anchored into the floor the whole time. And remember what I said about rolling up your mat under your bum if you need to, or even taking that leg higher if you need to. Okay, you've got to be able to feel what you're doing. And like we spoke right at the very beginning, awareness of what you're doing the whole time. All right, ready for the next one? Here comes those frog curls. Now these ones, they're actually not doing frog curls. They're doing it with their legs parallel to each other. So it's basically the same thing. You're going to extend yourself out. You can see the lady down the back, legs a little bit higher, makes it a little easier for her to keep her back down. Whereas the lady at the front, a little bit lower. So she's working at that little bit harder. But you can also see, if you have a look carefully, the lady at the back, you can see why her legs have to go a little higher, because even through the upper body there, she's starting to get that little bit of an arch through her upper body, and you can see it's almost it is straining a little bit through that back, whereas the lady at the front's quite flat along the floor. Now, I know these ladies, so I know what they can and can't do. But I chose them so that you could see the differences in positions and things like that. All right, so one thing we did earlier was the roll like a ball, but we only did it to sit up. One thing you can do with rolling like a ball, and that's this one here, is when you get up to this position where we balanced, you can actually then tuck yourself into a ball, grab your legs, bring them in close to you, roll onto your shoulders, roll back to sit up again, just like as if you were a ball. It is called rolling like a ball or a ball roll. These ladies here in this position are all balancing at the top of it. So you can see the different positions. Even up in the back corner there, we've got a lady who's made the big V with her legs, but that's all comes down to leg strength as well as hip strength, whereas the others keep their legs a little bit lower. Hopefully they're all breathing there. But when you do roll, it is important to think like a ball, and a ball is round for it to roll. Okay, if it's got any flat patches, it won't roll so well. So if you do have any back issues, you might find it a little harder to keep that rounded position. All comes down to pelvic tilt, tucking that bum under, chin tucked to the chest as if you're holding onto a grape with your chin. Okay, here's your last one. It's your bridge. Now, she's actually doing the bridge with an elastic. That just adds a little bit more strength training to your butt. Okay, if you do have any back issues, it's probably not something you really want to get straight into because there is a bit of work through the lower back. Like I said earlier, when you do a bridge, you work your butt and you work your back as well. Okay, so you can do that without, as you've just done today. Done it without the elastic, but that's just another step up there. And you can also see in that picture, which is something I probably didn't say, but when you lift those hips, you do want to try and get them right up, so you can kind of see from this picture that from where her knees are, it's a straight line all the way down to her shoulders. If your butt isn't activated properly and isn't working, it's going to sag and you're going to have that bend in the front of the hips there. If your hip flexors are tight, you may have the same issue. Okay, so that's a case of loosening up those hip flexors. I'll show you a stretch for that as well, just in case you need it. All right. How are we going? I didn't go too fast, did I? Look at that. It's 2 hours, Joseph. We did it. Wasn't sure. All right. I'm just having a drink, sorry. Hopefully you got all of that. Like I said, if you missed anything, just let me know what it is. With a speed bump. Yeah, that's okay as long as you got the straight line part there, Lynette. That's awesome. Good one. And as you start to go further through your pregnancy as well, think about using your hands as support for your back. And that goes for other people that may have a tired back and they can't activate that butt enough to support it. When you come up into a bridge, if you pop your hands in your lower back, okay, now I'm still trying to squeeze my bum. My elbows are pushing into the floor here. And even though I'm trying to squeeze my butt, just having my hands there is a little bit of support to come up and down. So you don't have to come all the way up if you've got that support there, but really try and just take that focus onto that. Squeeze your bum and support your lower back. So my hands are sitting on my lower back. So that might be something you look at when you get a little bit bigger, Lynette. And then I would progress it to sitting on the chair, like I said earlier, and doing the pelvic tilt and then rolling, okay? Because then you won't have that weight at all, okay? Because you don't want to end up with the back hurting. But right now you said your back's starting to ache, but you also said you have quite a deep arch. So that could be why. of course, with everything, this is your first, so pelvis has changed shape. I would do bridges every day to try and keep that lower back as strong as you can and your butt as strong as you can, because as the pelvis tilts anyway, that makes that arch quite deep. So you may have noticed that it's getting deeper than it was before you were pregnant, okay? All right, so little stretch for your opening up the hips is this one here, okay? Now you may be doing this. I don't like this. Do you do that one, Joseph? Do you make them do that one? Okay, what I want you to do instead is square yourself up with the floor, and then, you see my butt sticking out, right? There's the triangle, tuck. I'm pushing the pubic bone, the bottom of my triangle forward. As I do that, my butt's getting tight, but can you feel that stretch? The more you can get that tuck, the stronger the stretch. Now, here's why I say do this one, not the other. Because, firstly, it's a more intense stretch. It's going to open up that hip better, as well as, because they work together, it'll stretch out and that quad muscle as well, okay? So it'll be stretching and squeezing through there, okay, through the butt, the hip, and the leg. But at the same time, while you can feel that stretch there, your pelvic floor's lifted, and there's nothing you can do about it. So here's a good one for you, Lynette. Practice these, hold it for 10 seconds, then release and change legs. Square yourself up with the floor, okay, and tuck the bum under. Tuck. Some people have a bit of trouble with that tuck. Use a mirror or something so you can see what you're doing, or get your hands and try and push the fingers, the point of that triangle forward, okay? Feel it, look at the difference, look down and look at the difference, okay? But we're still squared up with the floor. There's no, what's it called? Is it a trapezium or something? Trapezius? Whatever that shape is. We're not doing that because we want to lift the pelvic floor as well. Okay, so it's a great one to learn to strengthen those muscles, especially when you're pregnant and after pregnancy. Okay, that's it. That is me. I am finished. No problem, Lynette. No problem at all for anyone. If you have any questions, please spill it. My phone number, are you ready for this one? My phone number is 0409 688 279. Joseph has it. I also have a Facebook page, which is Core Strength Fitness Victoria. That's me up there in that little, so you can find that. You can follow me and you can always contact me through that. I also have a website, which is the same, www.corestrengthfitnessvictoria.com.au. Or you can have a look on my YouTube page, which again is the same name. So it just makes it easier. Core Strength Fitness Victoria. And there's loads of different workout routines on there. There are some basic things which I did a few years ago, and there's some more recent things. There's some seated exercises. So Lynette, you might want to have a look at that. When you get a bit further along in your pregnancy and it gets hard to get down on your back and things like that, there's a whole bunch of exercises. That's a functional fitness one. So that can keep strengthening those core muscles. So same for everyone. If you need that extra support, if you need to just be reminded of what we've done today, you can have a look at those exercises and how to get that stability through the core, because it is so important. And not just, thank you, Joseph. Do you like my logo, do you? I think the blue one looks a bit like you, just minus all the hair. Well, what was I saying now? You put me off. Whatever I was saying, I lost it completely. Strength, stability in your core, using this area and keeping it stable when you stand up off a chair, or when you go to sit back down in a chair. Try not to do the whole up and down thing, one side at a time thing. when you go to lie on the floor, when you lie down in bed, you know, if you've got issues, you roll onto your side. So if your back has problems, roll onto your side and come down. Otherwise, roll it down. Practice your bridges every day for your stability, connecting, and practice your breathing. So important for everything you do. You need to be able to breathe. That's pretty much it. All of those exercises that I've given you, that you've written down or taken photos of or whatever, they will also help you. You can do them every day, do them every couple of days. You know, obviously the more you do something, the better you get at it. If you need to practice your breathing and your connecting, then just practice your breathing and your connecting. If you want to strengthen just a bit more, start to do more of that program. Work it for you. Repetitions, all of those things. Think about what you need on the day as well, because what you were doing today, you might have been able to do better 6 months ago before we went into lockdown, but now that you haven't been doing as much, you can't do as much. So, you know, if you've been sick with the flu or whatever, or you've just had an operation or something, you might find you can't do as much for a couple of weeks as you could before. Thank you, guys. Awesome. Good work. Good luck with everything that you're doing as well. Stay safe out there. Look after yourself. And like I said, if you've got any questions at all, any stage, please contact me. Joseph has all my details. He knows where to find me. So you can always go through him as well. But yeah, so enjoy. Take it easy. Well done. And thanks for coming. What do you mean, or corona? You're like my mother. You just put random things in. It's like, what does that mean? It was probably something I said about 2 minutes ago. Bloody Hugheses. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a good one. Take it easy. I'll let the numbers drop down a little bit and then I'll switch off just in case someone else pops up with something. Did you do any of it, Joseph, or did you just watch? No problem, Kelly. Take it easy. So did we have more out there that didn't say that they were there, or? Oh, I don't have an Alyssa on my list. That's all right. She did say. Slowly start packing my stuff away, tidying myself up. All right, well, I'm going to head off then. Take it easy, everyone. Stay safe, and might see you soon. Who knows? Take it easy.